Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Shellshocked podcast, here with Ep.4. Today, we're going to be talking about our top 10 fantasy football players at each position. But Noah just wants to share some quick information with us.
Yep. So I'd like to talk about Seattle Mariners pitcher Hector Santiago gets a 10-game ban for foreign substance on his glove. Santiago, they found a combination of rosin and sweat on his glove, and they gave him a 10-game ban. I think this is just ridiculous. I think rosin and sweat, if it's something natural like that, then I think that's fair game. They give you rosin, and sweat is what happens when it's hot outside. That's fair game. That should be allowed. But if you're using spider tack or something that you apply on the ball before the game, then I think that's cheating. But if it's something natural like that, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Also,
I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, and also a 10-game ban, that's like only 2 starts for a starting pitcher. Say a rotation, let's say you start once every 5 games or even 4, that's still only 2 games that he's missing, which I think that's a fair punishment, because he said that in his post-game press conference that it was only rosin. So, could be the case.
Yeah. Alright, so we're going to go by position. We got quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We didn't do kickers or defense. So I think
Are we just gonna go full top 10?
maybe we should do our top 5 and then top 10. Alright.
Yeah, okay.
Alright. Do you want to start off, Noah?
You can go first.
Alright. So we're gonna start off with quarterback. So our top 5, or my top 5 for the quarterbacks. Number 1, I got Patrick Mahomes. He is the best player in the NFL, arguably, him and Aaron Donald. Best quarterback. He's going to put up big numbers. He's got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. He's got great weapons. He's going to put up big numbers. Number 2, I got Josh Allen. I'm pretty sure he was the number 1 quarterback last year. And Diggs, he might even improve. He had a great season last year. Cole Beasley, solid receiver. Kevin Knox might even improve. Or not Kevin Knox, Dawson Knox. And, I think he'll be a solid option. I think the Bills could be AFC champions this year. Kyler Murray, I put him at number 3. I think he'll break out even more, and the Cardinals will improve. Cliff Kingsbury, not a great head coach, but Murray is just such a great quarterback. He brings a lot of rushing ability, and that's really key for fantasy football, because rushing yards give you more points than passing yards. So number 4, I got Dak Prescott. He was leading the league in passing yards, touchdowns before he got injured. He was on pace for some ridiculous numbers, like 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns. So I gotta put him at number 4. His injury knocks him down a little bit. And I got Justin Herbert at number 5. I think he'll improve from his rookie year some. He had almost 40 touchdowns or something like that last year, and over 4,000 passing yards. With the new head coach, I think the Chargers will thrive this year with Justin Herbert. You want to give us your top 5?
Yep, my top 5 quarterbacks. Number 1, I also have Mahomes. He's great quarterback with some phenomenal weapons. Arguably the best tight end in football, and a top 5 receiver. So I think Mahomes is the safest pick for number 1. Number 2, just like Aidan, I also have Josh Allen. He has Stephon Diggs, and he has good O-line. I think that and he also gets a lot of rushing touchdowns. They utilize him in the red zone a lot, so that's a plus for him. At number 3, I have Lamar Jackson. I'm expecting another 1,000 rushing yard season from him, and also I think his passing yards and passing touchdowns. I think he's gonna do better in both those categories with Mark Andrews and a few other of his weapons. At number 4, I have Kyler Murray. I wouldn't be mad if you have him higher. He's one of my dark horse MVP picks. He brings a lot of rushing upside, and he has some great receivers. He finished as QB2 last year, and I expect him to finish top 5 this year as well. At number 5, I have Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, great options. Stacked offense. He's been good his whole career, and I'm expecting another great season from him. So you can finish out your list.
All right, for the second half of my top 10, I got Russell Wilson at number 6. I mean, he's a great quarterback. I put him top 5. The thing is, their offense is not really an air raid offense. It's a very balanced offense. So sometimes, he'll sometimes put up small numbers, but at the start of the season, this guy is like the MVP front runner every year, and then in the middle it kind of dies off, and at the end is solid. So he might not be the most consistent option, but he's a good option. Number 7, I put Lamar Jackson. A great rushing quarterback, and he can improve throwing the football. He should, because I don't think he even had 3,000 passing yards last year, which is terrible. But he is a great running quarterback, and his team does fairly well. And he'll still get a bunch of rushes, and they signed Sammy Watkins, so that might help him out. And they drafted Rashad Bateman, so that should definitely help. Number 8, I put Tom Brady. I mean, look, I put him a top 5 quarterback. He's just a winner. Wherever he goes, he wins. I mean, he put up great numbers last year. I think he put up like 40 touchdowns and 4,500 passing yards. Like, those are great numbers. I could expect a little bit of a decline possibly, but still great QB. Number 9, I put Joe Burrow. Before he got hurt, he was putting up a ton of passing yards, and I think his touchdowns will improve with Jamar Chase. The chemistry is there. I think he's due for a monster season. Number 10, I put Kirk Cousins. He has a lot of garbage time stats, and with that he puts up like 4,500 yards, almost 40 touchdowns, and those are pretty good numbers for fantasy football. And honorable mention, I put Matt Stafford.
For my back half of the list, at 6, I have Dak Prescott. He last year was on pace for being QB1 in fantasy, and I think the injury might take him a step back, but I still think he's a phenomenal QB, and I think he could even finish above 6. At 7, I have Justin Herbert. So long as he puts up numbers similar to last year, which I think he will, he can finish at 7. At 8, I have Tom Brady. He also has a lot of weapons, great O-line, and he will put up solid fantasy numbers as he does every year. At number 9, I have Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, Derrick Henry takes away some of his points, but he's got a phenomenal receiving core, and he always finishes top 10 in fantasy QB rankings. And at number 10, I have Kirk Cousins. He also, as Aidan said, puts up a lot of garbage time stats, but points are points, and you're gonna take them. And Kirk Cousins is a good fantasy QB. My honorable mentions, I have two. I have Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford. Let's pick up on what Aidan said. Joe Burrow with those passing yards before he got hurt, and his team around him has improved a bit. Grabbed Jamar Chase out of the draft, and the O-line hopefully will improve a bit. And Matt Stafford, now with the Rams, he has great offense, great O-line, great receivers, solid tight ends. I think he can thrive in that system and put up some fantasy points.
All right, moving on to running backs. A hot take right here. Number 1, I have Derrick Henry. Everyone's saying CMC. I don't know. He got injured. Derrick Henry had like 2,000 yards last year. Insane. Best running back of the league, in my opinion. He's number 1 for me. Dalvin Cook, I put him at number 2. Had a great season last year. I think he'll even improve. He does some receiving out the backfield and had like 1,500 rushing yards. Put CMC at 3. I think he'll decline a little, but still a great option. He did get hurt in like week 2, I think, and then came back, played against the Chiefs, and got hurt again. So hopefully injuries aren't a problem, and he puts up some great numbers. I put Nick Chubb at 4. He missed 4 games last year and still at 1,000 yards. I mean, this guy is just a beast.
And he shared time with Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, that just says how good he is. Number 5, I got Alvin Kamara. He doesn't really rush for 1,000 yards, but he puts up like 1,500 total yards because he gets so many receiving yards, and he gets a bunch of receptions and a lot of touchdowns.
All right, so my 5 running backs. Oh, and by the way, this is PPR. So yeah, number 1, Christian McCaffrey. He always has such a big workload in Carolina. He's gonna get a lot of receptions and a lot of carries too, and a lot of touchdowns. A lot of everything for Christian McCaffrey, and I think he's a safe number 1. At number 2, Dalvin Cook. He's a phenomenal running back, and I think that Vikings offense is going to thrive this year. And I think Dalvin Cook could be one of the leaders. At number 3, I have Alvin Kamara. This dude's insane. He's a great receiving back. He's a great running back. He can grab a lot of touchdowns. Like last year, he had that one game with 6 touchdowns. And with Winston as his quarterback, maybe they throw less, run a little more. At 4, I have Derrick Henry. I don't think he'll reach 2,000 rushing yards again. But I do think he will finish as the 4th best running back in fantasy, because he scores crap ton of touchdowns, and he'll still grab around 1,500, 1,400 rushing yards. So Derrick Henry's a safe 4. At number 5, I have Nick Chubb. If this dude stays healthy all year, he could even finish above this spot. But I just have him at 5. I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah. All right. I'd have to agree a little bit there, Noah, and disagree. All right. Number 6, I put Saquon Barkley. Again, he's coming off an ACL tear. That's a big injury, but I still think he'll put up solid numbers. O-line isn't the best, but great player. Number 7, hot take. I think he'll break out this year. Antonio Gibson. He put up like 1,000 all-purpose yards last year, and I think he'll improve from that and put up like 1,000 rushing yards. He'll put up a good amount of receiving yards, and I think he'll score a lot of touchdowns. Number 8, I put Jonathan Taylor. He will have to split carries with Marlon Mack when he comes back, and Naheem Hines is still there. He's a good receiving back, so couldn't put him as high, but I still think he's a good option. Number 9, I put Zeke. Did not have a good year last year, but I think he'll bounce back a little bit. He's a great running back. He's been good for a long time. I got him at number 9. Number 10, I got Aaron Jones. He did lose like some of the O-line on the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers won't be there. He's a good goal line threat. I think he'll have a little bit of a drop-off, but it's still a good option. And my honorable mention is James Robinson.
All right. My bottom half of the list. At number 6, I have Saquon Barkley, just like Aidan. He grabs a lot of receiving yards and rushing yards and a lot of touchdowns. I think he could be higher as long as he stays healthy, but for now I got him at 6. At number 7, I have Jonathan Taylor. This dude's a workhorse. I think he'll take most of the workload in Indianapolis, and if he does, he will finish top 10. Last year, I think he finished like 12 or something. At 8, I have Ezekiel Elliott. He had a down year last year, so did the offensive line, and really so did the Cowboys, but I think he'll pick it up, and he still will be top 10. At number 9, I have Aaron Jones. He's always a great fantasy running back. He could take a little bit more of a workload with potentially no Aaron Rodgers. I think he might have to split a little time with A.J. Dillon, but I still think he's a great running back. And at number 10, I have Cam Akers. I hope he takes most of the carries, but really any running back who ran for the Rams was good. Like when Malcolm Brown took most of the carries, he was putting up good numbers. But when they used Cam Akers as much as they should have last year, like at the end of the year and in the playoffs, he was insane. He was grabbing like 100 yards a game and a touchdown. So I think Cam Akers at 10.
Yeah.
So I gotta do my honorable mentions.
My bad.
Yeah. So my honorable mentions: Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He did not live up to his insanely high potential last year, which I think was maybe a little too high. He was taken at the first round in a lot of leagues, and he only had 4 touchdowns. But I think he should provide more in this Kansas City offense this year. And even with his 4 touchdowns, he still finished top 20 fantasy running back. And I also have David Montgomery as an honorable mention. He eats alive bad defenses, but because of Chicago's crappy O-line and his inconsistency, he will not be able to make the top 10 list.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, piggybacking on David Montgomery, he also had a lot of good games against bad teams last year. Wide receivers now. Number 1, I put Tyreek Hill. He had like 15 touchdowns last year and like a ton of yards as well. I mean, he is an elite receiver. He's very fast. I'd expect him to be number 1. Put Stephon Diggs number 2. He had the most receiving yards in the league last year. I think him and Josh Allen will improve more, and they could become AFC champions. Number 3, I put DeAndre Hopkins. Personally, I think he's the best wide receiver in the league. He put up like 1,400 yards, but he didn't put up that many touchdowns, like with only 5, I think. But his coach just sucks, puts him on bad routes. If he had a better coach, he'd be scoring a lot of touchdowns. Number 5, I put number 4, hot take, I put DK Metcalf. Not a top 4 receiver, but for fantasy, he's great. He had like 1,300 yards, and he had 10 touchdowns. Him and Tyler Lockett both get a lot of touchdowns from Russell Wilson. I'd expect him to put up big numbers. 5, I put Justin Jefferson. He had like 1,400 yards last year, and I think he'll catch even more touchdowns this year and put up a ton of yards with Kirk Cousins. Number 6, I put Devontae Adams. I think he'll fall off a little bit without Aaron Rodgers, and yeah.
Alright. I'll do 6 as well, I guess. At number 1, I also have Tyreek Hill. He's the number 1 option, a receiver in the number 1 offense. So I think that just makes perfect sense to keep him at 1. At number 2, I also have Stephon Diggs. He led the league in receiving yards, and I'm not sure if receptions also, but was it receptions too? Aidan, do you know? I don't know. He was definitely top 5 in receptions. So number 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. He's always a safe option because he's just simply one of the best receivers in the game. I think either the best or the second best. At number 4, I have Calvin Ridley. No Julio Jones with him this year. Even when Julio Jones last year, he was injured most of the year, and Ridley did finish last year, I think, as the wide receiver 4. At number 5, I have Devontae Adams. Assuming no Aaron Rodgers, I think 5 is a pretty decent spot for him. But with Aaron Rodgers, I think he can be anywhere above any of these guys on the list. Also for quarterbacks, why we didn't include Rodgers and Watson because some complications with them, so we didn't want to include them in the list. I think make it pretty hard to do.
Yeah. All right. Moving on with my second half of the receivers. 7. This is where I put Calvin Ridley. I think he'll put up even better numbers with Julio Jones gone, and I expect a monster season, and I could see him higher up on this list. Put A.J. Brown at 8. He will have to, split receptions with Julio Jones, but Julio Jones, he is a little older, and I think A.J. Brown will stay the number 1 guy. Number 9, a dark horse, I put CeeDee Lamb. I think he'll improve because when he played with Dak Prescott, they had great connections, and I think he'll put up 1,000 yards because he had 900 yards last year. I think he'll have a great season this year. Michael Thomas, I put him at number 10. He gets a lot of receptions, had a good amount of yards and touchdowns. Drew Brees won't be there, but he's a great receiver coming off injury. I think he'll do pretty good. And my honorable mention is Julio Jones, just because he's getting a little older. Still a top receiver in the league.
So for 6, I have DK Metcalf. He's a phenomenal receiver. I think he gets a little bit too much hate, but he's in that offense with Russell Wilson, and yeah. At number 7, I have Justin Jefferson. I had him on my fantasy team last year, actually. He's a phenomenal receiver, great route runner, puts up a lot of points, and I think this year could have an even better year. At 8, I have Michael Thomas. This is a little low for him, I think, but last year was just unacceptable, and he really does need to pick it up. At number 9, I have A.J. Brown. He's going to be the number 1 option in Tennessee, I believe. And, yeah. At 10, I CeeDee Lamb, because he also, as Aidan said, had a great connection with Dak Prescott last year. Actually, when Dak Prescott was playing, he led that team in receiving yards, and I think that's going to continue. I think he'll be one or two option in Dallas. Honorable mentions, I have Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Amari Cooper. I think those receivers are all great and could have made the list, but I think these guys are going to have great years.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to tight ends. This is the final position that we're doing. Number 1, I put Travis Kelce. I think this is undisputed. He is the best receiving tight end in the NFL, no questions asked. He's number 1. Darren Waller, I put him at number 2 above Kittle. Kittle was a little injured last year, and Waller had a monster season. And with Aguilar leaving in Vegas, I think he'll put up even better numbers. Number 3, I put George Kittle. I think he's the second best tight end in the league, but he's a great blocker, and he's a great receiver too. But I just think that the guys above him are going to have a better season. Number 4, I put DJ Hawkinson. I think he'll improve even more in his third year and get close to 1,000 receiving yards. Number 5, this is where I put Kyle Pitts. Number 4 draft pick. He's got a lot of expectations. He was great at Florida, had a lot of touchdowns. I think he'll do some of that same in Atlanta, and I think he'll be a great option for tight end this year.
At number 1, Kelsey. Obviously, number 1 and 2, Kelsey, and I think Kittle. Oh, and you actually had Waller at 2. At number 3, I have Waller. I think those 3 are top 3, undisputed. Those are the top 3 tight ends in the NFL.
Have to agree.
After that, it kind of drops off a bit. Number 4, I have T.J. Hawkinson. He was utilized greatly in Detroit last year, and I think he'll have another great year. Number 5, I have Mark Andrews. I think he's going to be one of the reasons Lamar will do better this year. He had a lot of touchdowns 2 years ago, and I think he had a lot last year, but not as much as fantasy owners were hoping for. All right, Aidan, you go.
All right, now 6 through 10. 6, I got Mike Gesicki. This is where tight ends kind of like drop off a lot, but I think he'll have a good year in Miami with Tua. I think Tua will improve. Not the best QB though, but he has great hands. I think he'll be a reliable option for tight end. Number 7, I put Mark Andrews. Thought he was going to have a better season last year. Didn't have the best season, but didn't have the worst. Tight end is not the strongest position. It's very weak, so he's an okay option. Logan Thomas, I put at number 8. He started to heat up more in the second half of the season, but he could improve more. But I like him a lot on that Washington offense. Put Evan Ingram at number 9. He only had like 1 touchdown last year, but a good amount of yards. He has butterfingers though, but he does put up a lot of production. And at number 10, I put Hunter Henry. I think he missed some time with an injury last year, and he will have to split play time with Jonnu Smith
On
in
the
New
Patriots,
England.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think he'll be all right. And my honorable mention, I think he'll have a breakout year in Chicago, is Cole Kmet.
Oh, okay. I like that. At number 6, I have Mike Gesicki. He's a great tight end. As Aidan said, he's got great hands, and I think this year will be improvement. We'll see improvement from him and Tua. Hopefully that connection is there. At number 7, I have Noah Fant. Hopefully either Drew Lock improves or he gets a better quarterback, because I think Noah Fant is a really great tight end, and he can be higher on this list with a better quarterback. At number 8, I have Logan Thomas. He was great for the football team last year, and I'm expecting the same this year. At number 9, I have Gronk. He can put up a lot of touchdowns, and him and Brady have that connection. Wait, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
At number 10, I have Evan Ingram. He when he catches the ball, he's actually a pretty good player. This year he's gonna need some more touchdowns, and he's gonna need to catch the ball.
Yeah.
My honorable mentions are Irv Smith. I think the Vikings coach, he said he's not expecting an increase in workload from Irv Smith, but I still think he'll be a solid fantasy tight end. Also, another honorable mention, any Titans tight end who picks up that tight end role, because the Titans utilized the tight end in the red zone so much last year. They did with Jonnu Smith. So, yeah. And also, I had to put him honorable mention just because he's a rookie, but he's a freak of nature. Kyle Pitts. He's my honorable mention, and I think he could make this list if he has a great year in Atlanta. But he's a rookie, and I'm not really sure what to expect from him. So Kyle Pitts is honorable mention.
Alright, I like the picks. Alright, that is going to wrap it up for this episode, for episode 4, and we will see you guys later. Peace.